Now it's time for our U.S. Report regular, former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor at Bondi Partners, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, what is your reaction to the news that has come down about the indictment of Donald Trump?
I'm honestly surprised by this, James. You know, as much as I know that the nation is politically divided, I know that Trump derangement syndrome is real and that many Democrats really just hate him with a passion. I'm still surprised by this. Keep in mind, no one in our country's history that I know of, and I've talked to a bunch of people, has ever been convicted of what they're talking about charging Donald Trump with. It's a strange combination of a misdemeanor tax charge tied to a campaign finance violation. It has nothing to do directly with the payments of hush money to Stormy Daniels. That's not illegal in our system. If it was just been an ordinary payment, there'd be no issue here at all. But they're trying to take, the DA is trying to take this strange combination of a tax violation misdemeanor, campaign finance, to make that a very, very low grade, in fact, the lowest grade felony that there can possibly be. This is a really, really dangerous and bad political precedent. It just begs for retribution the next time the Republicans control a DA's office someplace and there's a Democrat political person they don't like. So this is it's kind of a sad day if you want to stop and be honest about it.
Yeah, look, Mick, I would tend to agree with you absolutely on this. I mean, on this program, we have said repeatedly that this felt very much like a trumped-up charge, pardon the pun. Now, Taylor Budovich, who is the CEO of the MAGA organization, has put out a tweet saying, or a statement on their social network, saying that this is an indictment of a failed nation. Well, maybe not a failed nation, but it is really kind of an indictment of a political system that, as you say, has become very much a tool of politics to, indict or go after the opposition. This feels more like kind of late Roman Republic or developing world kind of stuff, doesn't it, Mick?
It does. Look, if we're sitting here tonight talking about an indictment related to January 6th, serious matter. I've talked about that. An indictment related maybe to his potential interference with the elections in Georgia, for example. Very serious stuff. This is not. This was a crime looking for an excuse. They wanted to charge him with something, and this was the best they could do. Keep in mind, there was another Democrat district attorney before this one who chose not to bring these charges, not to pursue this because he didn't think it was a serious enough matter. This goes back to the FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago, the president's home. That it felt like the full weight of a Democrat administration coming down on a Republican competitor, enemy, somebody they just didn't like. This is going to help Donald Trump politically. I'm sympathetic to the president. Again, I'm one of the president's probably most vocal critics in this country, at least from those who used to be on the inner circle. But I have to come to the president's defense tonight because this is just wrong. Again, you want to charge him for January 6th, different story. You want to charge him for this. I don't understand why the district attorney thought this was so important. I don't understand why he wasn't able to see the ramifications of this. The country is worse off tonight because of what just happened.
Well, this is really interesting because I agree with you that the fundamental American sense of fairness is going to come down on the side of Donald Trump here. But on the issue of this district attorney and what he is trying to do here, well, I mean, this is going to make the Democrats look very, very petty indeed, won't it?
It will. And it gets worse than that because we're sitting here talking about the sort of the tenuous nature of the charge. We haven't talked about who the key witness is. The key witness is Michael Cohen, the former Trump organization employee who has gone to jail for perjury. He has gone to jail and admitted to lying to banks and to lying to Congress. He is a convicted liar. But he's the key witness here. Stormy Daniels, the porn star, has nothing to do with it. She has very little to add because it's just a question of whether or not the payments were accounted for from a tax perspective and whether or not they had any political benefit to Donald Trump. That's the nature of the charge here. So you're unlikely to see a very scandalous presentation as to whether or not there actually was an affair between Stormy Daniels and the president because it doesn't make any difference. Again, the more you scratch at this, the more it doesn't look like it's fair. It looks like it violates that very sort of basic sense of just common sense. And the president will end up probably doing better politically because of it.
And, so on this, it does really feel very much like, Stalin's old henchman Lavrenti Beria used to say, you show me the man and I'll show you the crime. This is fundamentally an almost un-American sort of thing to do to get against the opposition. Tell us more about Michael Cohen, though, because we talked about him last week, and you just mentioned he's been indicted for things. How unreliable a witness is he going to be, and why on earth would any DA think that he'd be somebody you'd want to put on the stand?
I guess the reason you'd want to put him on the stand is you don't care. What you really wanted is the indictment. You wanted the arrest of Donald Trump. You wanted to at least show, keep in mind, this is an elected office. The district attorney who appears to be charging Donald Trump with these things is an elected official in New York City. And he wants to go to his voters, predominantly Democrat. That's what New York City is. It's a blue city. Go to them and say, well, look, we couldn't put him in jail because the jury didn't convict him, but I did everything I could to put him in jail. Vote for me again. That's what I think this is about. It's a political process gone wrong. And you just wish that that Trump derangement syndrome wasn't that serious. By the way, James, it reminds me a lot of the very first impeachment. People think Trump got impeached because of the conversation with President Zelensky in Ukraine and the supposed withholding of finances. But what they forget is the impeachment inquiry had started in the U.S. House of Representatives before that phone call was made public. They were looking for a reason to impeach him. This is the same thing here. They were looking for an excuse to charge him with a crime because they wanted the political benefit of doing that. And that is, at the end of the day, very simple.
And so Mick, I mean, we've already heard people talking about, this idea that whoever is president will now always be under an impeachment investigation because of the precedent set by the Democrats during Donald Trump. Are we now also going to be basically in a situation where in America, if you are highly public, if you are highly controversial, there will now always be some sort of prosecutorial gotcha attempt also to take you down, rather than fighting about, policy A versus policy B, direction A for the country versus direction B?
Look, you and I have not talked about this. We've had some good private conversations, especially over the midterms, but I've never said this to you before, but I'll say it now. I'm scared to death. I'm a former Trump official. I mean, no one was closer to Donald Trump than I am. Is there a Democrat district attorney out there looking for something they can charge me with, looking for something they can indict me? Because keep in mind, and it's a different story for Donald Trump because he's extraordinarily wealthy, but there are Democrat prosecutors all over the country who know that if they charge a Trump official, that could cost that Trump official hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. You can bankrupt people like this. And is that a political motivation to charge people with very, very sort of thin criminal sort of indictments? Yeah, no, it's a very scary time to be a public official in Washington, D.C. right now. It's a very scary time to be a public official in our country. And my guess is the reasonable Democrats know that sooner or later the shoe's going to be on the other foot, and they're going to have to be just as worried as I am as I sit here tonight.
Finally, Mick, I think you put it very well there, and hopefully they can pull back from the brink. But I just want to ask you real quickly about your decision, or the reaction to Hillary Clinton's decision to teach, of all things, a foreign policy course. I mean, I'm not sure I'd go to her if I wanted to learn about foreign policy. What's your reaction?
Well, it could be worse. She could be teaching healthcare. I mean, remember she was the original Hillary Care person. Listen, I got to tell you, I have to laugh. I have not seen that video that you just played. I'm actually doing something at Columbia University, and they were supposed to schedule it for this week, and they said, "Oh, we can't do it this week. We have a big announcement. We don't want to sort of announce you at the same time." So now I know what they were going to announce.
Well, Mick, I can't wait to hear about you guys meeting up in the faculty lounge there for a cup of tea, you and Mrs. Clinton. That'd be great. Mick Mulvaney, thank you so much for your insights on this very important day in American history. Thank you so much. Now,